So I thought I'd take the opportunity to explain what our core systems upgrade is. I mean, you've heard the term, but what actually is it? Well, basically, it's rebuilding the foundation for all our IT infrastructure, from the way we bill our members, through to the way the gate opens on reception when they swipe their card, the way we even do our reporting, and the way that we communicate to our staff and members as well. So it's a bit of a history lesson. Kind of what happened is we used to have a system called Aphelion, and that system then got changed, and that went to the new system, which was CRM, and that was quite a few years ago. And basically what we've done since then is invested in CRM and other parts of our business to try and get better functionality, but it's still not the best system. And the problem is the system actually started to get quite old. So the people that came along and they built it at the beginning, well, they were coming back and they were kind of still working on the foundations and bits would break, and so they'd fix that, and then we'd spend a little bit more money in one area of the business, and then we'd spend some more money in another area of the business. But as we kind of went along, what we found was the material that the foundation was actually built on, it just wasn't available anymore. In fact, some of the people who worked on CRM originally, their skills had changed and they'd moved on to other projects. And we got to the point where we couldn't service or maintain our current IT systems. They were just getting broken. So we needed to start to look at building a new foundation for us to continue operating as a business and make sure that we could deliver our exercise experiences that our members love. So the best way to understand the core systems upgrade is a little bit like this. Imagine a 20-story building. And this 20-story building is like the best 20-story building that you could build. It's got like a helicopter pad on the top, it's got a pool, it's got double glazing. It's a pretty epic building. Well, components in CRM and components in all of our IT systems are like buildings, right? The best building you can build is a 20-story building. The problem with our current system is, well, we haven't really got any 20-story buildings. We've got some 11-story buildings because we've spent some money on those. We've got some 5-story buildings. We've got some 2-story buildings, 8-story buildings. We've got some buildings that fell down. We've kind of got this IT infrastructure that's made up of a series of buildings, and those building designs are based on how much money or attention each component has actually got over time. The other frustration was none of these buildings could even talk to each other. So for example, the website building couldn't talk to the CRM building without someone hopping out of the CRM building and going over to the website building and saying, hey, do you want to run this promotion? And then going back and saying, yep, they want to run the promotion. Just a crazy, crazy system. So when we started to look at the core systems upgrade, we thought, well, what do we want to build? And so we got a whole lot of people in the room from each different department. So reception was there, and then we had sales there, and then we had club managers there. All the departments were represented at some point in the room. And basically we said, okay, so what are the things that frustrate you about the current system? What are your day-to-day jobs that just cause you frustration? And they all got listed out on a board. And then we said, well, if you could have anything, what would you want? And everyone just went to town, right? We said, we want this, we want that. And there were bells and whistles, and we were going, yes, this is exactly what we want. So the team at Intergen, who are doing our core systems upgrade, they took all that information and they said, this sounds like an epic system. Let's build these buildings. And they put it into a quote, and they came back to us and they said, here you go. And we were like, what? That's a lot of money. And they said, yeah, but you've got like a list here of 20-story buildings with helicopter pads on the top. We were like, but that's what we want. And they said, yeah, but you don't have the budget for that. And we kind of got to this paradox where we were like, what do we do? We can't not do anything because our foundation is breaking, and we can't get our 20-story buildings across everything. And we said, well, what can we get? And they said, well, what you can get is a solid 7-story building right across the business for all the components that you need. So we're thinking, but then some of the functionality that we currently have is going to go backwards. And they said, yeah, it is. And we were like, what? But then we started to look at the other wins that we were getting, and there were a whole lot of kind of buildings that we'd neglected or we'd been wanting to work on, but we couldn't. So this was an opportunity to bring them up to 7 stories. Look, the long story short is basically we have a budget that allows us to build a 7-story foundation. But the great news is the foundation is now in the cloud, whatever that means, right? So it's basically online, and it allows it to rebuild itself via magic. I think it's built with unicorn blood. But anyway, it's kind of a foundation that we can continue to develop and evolve, just as we have done with our current system, but the difference is our foundation won't break down. So we're going to continue to invest and get functionality back to where it was. We're going to deliver some great components, and we're going to get those buildings as high as we can with the budget that we have. Some components may be a little bit more technical than they were before, but those components we'll continue to work on, and the other components that have been the massive pain points are going to be a lot easier. The other great news is we've got some really good parts of our system members are going to interact with that are going to be a lot better for them. So things like our website, things like the way that they can deal with reception through POS and the gate and all that kind of stuff. Those components are going to be much, much tighter. They're going to be a much better experience for them as well, because any point where a member touches needs to be slick. We're also going to make sure that we consider that anyone who is a high user of something, so such as CRM, so I'm thinking kind of like our salespeople, our receptionists, we need to make sure that they've got tools to be able to operate successfully and at speed, because at the end of the day, that's a benefit to our members as well. So keeping our members in mind, keeping our budget in mind, keeping our high users in mind, I know we're going to deliver a system that's going to set us up for a fantastic future.